All right, so we are back with part three. This is our last part of TyShawn's story. And I'm going to just let TyShawn take it away. Like I said, when you're in for so many years, there's just so many things we could talk about. So I'm going to go ahead, not going to really ask any questions on this one until the end. And we're going to just let TyShawn say what she needs to say.
And I thank you so much for this opportunity. When I first came out of the religion, I was contacting everybody on YouTube. Let me tell my story. Let me tell my story. And it wasn't until I say about 2 months out, my therapist, like I said, I've been going to therapy. My therapist was like, I've been on YouTube I and I hear these ex Jehovah's Witnesses talk, and they're saying everything that you say. And she said, I really think you need to listen to them so you know you're not the only one. And I had left. I was not disfellowshipped. I disassociated myself. I was not kicked out. I left. And I still was afraid to watch so-called apostates. I still was afraid to watch anything on YouTube. I still wasn't watching anything on the news about Jehovah's Witnesses. But after she said that they were saying the same thing I was saying, I was like, I have to watch. And so I watched them and I found out that my story, it made me feel better because it let me know that my story was not even as bad as it could be because of some of the
Mm,
stories that they were telling was like, what? But I still wanted to tell my story and I contacted different ones on YouTube to try to get them to let me tell my story. And they wouldn't, they, I guess, like I said, mine wasn't the worst, so it wasn't spicy enough. So I really want to thank you for giving me this platform to come out and tell my story. But I think where we left off was with when I sent the group text and to the about the Jehovah doesn't live at this house, and then I felt bad about it, and I humbly apologized and said I'm sorry, y'all, and they still didn't respond. But there were some other things going too. Like there was that brother that I liked who was telling. I don't still to this day do not know what he was saying to my elders. Because what made it so bad was that I had actually called elders from previous congregations that I had been in and asked them to talk to him and reason with him and let him know that I was a good person. And they wouldn't respond. They wouldn't talk to me. These were elders that I knew. Some of them were even elders that I grew up with. All were elders that knew I had suicidal ideation. They all knew that. Every elder in my congregation knew that because I had scrupulosity.
right.
And so I was always calling the brothers, always, So they all knew my issues. Everybody knew my issues. I never, thanks to my wonderful mother, I never was ashamed of my mental illness, and everybody knew my issues. So there was this one particular brother who helped me when I was in the hospital. He walked my dog. I had a support animal, and he helped me with my dog by walking my dog while I was in the hospital. And I thought that was so wonderful. And then I was what was called a pioneer when I first got there. A pioneer is someone that preaches 50 hours a month. And I was a pioneer, and I wanted to go to pioneer school. I mean, pioneer meeting every year. The pioneers who preach for 50 hours a month, they meet and they have a meeting, and they're encouraged and talk about the ministry and different things like that. And I knew I was going to stop. I knew that I was breaking down. My mother had died in 2023, and I knew that I was breaking down. And I one of the things that I started doing was cursing. And, nobody knew. This was a secret sin. Nobody knew that I was cursing. I didn't tell the elders that I was cursing. Um, but I knew that, it was bringing reproach on Jehovah's name. And I knew that since I was doing it, I didn't, I didn't have, I did not qualify to be a pioneer. And I knew that I was going to tell the elders to remove me from the list because I was not a hypocrite. I had scrupulosity, and I'm not going to bring reproach on Jehovah's name. So in my mind, this pioneer meeting is going to be the last meeting I go to as a pioneer. So I went to I was in the hospital, like I told you, and they were trying to put me into a group home. So the particular elder said, I said, I would like a ride to the hall. He said, oh, don't worry, I'll find you a ride. I'll find you a ride, but you really need to go to this pioneer meeting. And he was like, maybe the pioneer meeting was something would come out that would encourage you to stay on the list, to stay a pioneer. That's what he was hoping. So I was so excited that I was going to be going to the pioneer meeting, even though I was like way across town. I was like an hour and a half away from the pioneer meeting. But I said, they're going to find somebody, to take me. Girl, this elder, the same elder, pulls up by himself. Now, what people who are not Jehovah's Witnesses need to understand is that the publications tell people who are dating, even if they're grown, to have a chaperone. Correct. You do not date by yourself, a man and a woman by themselves. You have to have a chaperone. When you get into a car with somebody, they're either the same sex or there's two and one. So if you get into a car, there's going to be two men and you, or two women and one man. But it's never supposed to be one man and one woman.
Yes. Never.
And so he pulls up, and when like I said, I got scrupulosity. I have called the elders on elders. Okay, let's not. That's where I was. I take an elder to the brothers in a minute. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe I had taken the wrong elder to them and they remembered it or something. I don't know, but I would take an elder to the brothers. So when he pulled up by himself in the car, I stood there and I was like, I can't believe he did this. And by that time I was getting a little feisty. I was starting to wake up, and I said, you know what? This man gonna come pick. This is what they always say. You do not go with this is what they tell the elders. You do not ride in the car along with a sister, because all she has to do is scream grape and you will lose your position as an elder. Mm-hmm. So when he pulled up, I was thinking to myself, yeah, he want to mess with me. He want to put my chastity in jeopardy. How would he like it if I say he tried to rape me? That's where my mind was, because like I said, I was starting to break down. So we get in the car and we sit in the car for 20 minutes while he talks to me about, reads me scriptures to encourage me. Then he takes me to the pioneer meeting. And when I get in that pioneer meeting, I am so nervous all the way there. What are the brothers going to say when they see me walk in here with this married elder, me and him by ourselves? I was like, what is he going to say? And then when I got into the building, nobody looked, nobody noticed, nobody cared. It was like everybody was like, I could not believe it. I was like, nobody is saying anything that I'm with this married elder by herself. So to make a long story short, I go to his wife thinking to myself that it was me. I'm the one with the problem. I go to his wife, and I had a necklace that my mother gave, that an elder gave my mother. one of her friends, him and his wife, went to Kenya, and they gave my mother this beautiful African necklace, which my mother being in African art, she loved it. So I inherited it when she passed. So I gave it to this brother's wife, and I thanked her for allowing him to take me to the pioneer meeting. And I basically told her all the things he had did, walking my dog, all the things that he had did for me. And she stopped speaking to me.
Mm.
And then I was talking to a friend of mine, and my friend was like, "That she stopped speaking to you because she didn't know." I said, "What?"
Yes,
She
I
didn't
agree.
know. She didn't know that he was doing all that for you.
Right.
So I'm like, oh my goodness, now I'm committing emotional adultery because I'm his wife is thinking we got something going on.
Right. Yeah.
So
And you were thanking her for, because what people don't understand is the elders, they take a lot of time away from their wives and their families to be there for the different people in the congregation. And it sounds like, you were just acknowledging that he was being helpful during that time, and it was innocent for you, but for her, you don't know what he had told her. He could have been telling her that he was in elders meetings and he was
mhm,
doing something
mhm.
else, and
Yeah,
to hear from you that he was, and it was simple, walking the dog, just helping you out because you had a lot going on, but as a wife, she found out.
why ain't I
Yeah.
got a dog? Where's my
Yeah.
so I was like, that's it. She didn't know. So I sent him a text. And I told him I ain't committing emotional adultery. You know how you blow up on somebody. I know I used to be married. I know what it's like to be married. I know what you're doing. You're not going to do that with me. You talk to your wife. You're not going to pit me against your wife. Don't text me on this private chat. If you want to talk to me on the group chat, because I had a group chat with the elders. I said, do not message me on here. I go into the hospital. I get out the hospital. And what does he do when I get out? I guess he was testing me. He contacts me on the personal chat. Hi, Sister Knight. How are you doing? I hear you back
Wow.
home from the hospital. I
Mm.
flipped. So I'm talking to my friend and another friend. And I'm telling her that, he's not supposed to be with me alone. That's not the way it's done. And she said, I'm not going to let you talk about him. That's a fine brother. He's helping you. That's all he's trying to do is help you. Because whenever we're alone, he never does anything inappropriate to me.
Wow. So here she is admitting to you that basically that this is a pattern. This is an elder who is putting himself in positions to be alone with women. And if you don't understand the Jehovah's Witness culture, like you mentioned, even when you are dating someone, you're not allowed to be alone with them, let alone be alone with an elder. And I like how you mentioned the emotional affair. I think sometimes people might think like maybe you're reaching, but in the Jehovah Witness culture, you are taught that everything leads to inappropriate, sexual actions, right? So it could be something as simple as a
Bless your heart.
conversation, right? So in your mind, you're probably thinking like, yeah, this was not appropriate and you did something wrong because the elder, remember, the elders are superior, right? They're put on the pedestal. And so the religion definitely makes you feel like it must have been something as a woman that you did, right? Not he knew that he was crossing a boundary, and he had crossed this boundary not just with you as a sister but with other sisters as well. Wow.
But then I found out it was a practice. Because like I'm still trying to go to the hall, and I finally found a congregation that said I could come, and I thought I was going to avoid the letter, and a lot of people, a lot of elders in this congregation knew me. That's what we got to explain to people. Jehovah's Witnesses don't just have one elder. Every congregation has like 5 or 6 elders.
Right.
So in this new congregation, it was going to be like 4 who knew me. So I'm thinking I was going to avoid, whatever that guy was saying to the people, to the elders. I thought I was going to avoid that. So I went to there that night and I asked the brothers if I could come to that congregation because my congregation was basically saying you can't go nowhere but with us. You can't go to another hall but us.
And I've never heard of that. I mean, I know that they're big on you can only come to this congregation because it's in your territory. They want to police you. We talked about that before too, the
Mm-hmm.
benefits of going in your area, but to outright tell you that you cannot go to another congregation, I had never heard of that until you shared that. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, so when I thought I was going to avoid that because they knew me. I thought I'm going to get away. So that night, the coordinator was about to take me home, but when he was going to take me home, he said, "I'll take you home." He was going to get in the car with me by myself. This is another brother. This isn't the same brother. This brother is married too. Was going to get in the car with me and take me home by himself. And so one of the brothers from the congregation that I thought I was going to said, "Wait a minute, brother. Don't you think you need someone to be with you when you're with this sister?" And
Oh,
I,
okay. So not to cut you off, TyShawn, I just
mm-hmm,
thought about it. To people that are watching, that don't understand what we're talking about. So in the congregation, you may have maybe 5 or 6 elders, right? When you go into judicial meetings to deal with issues, 3 or 4, usually three, at least three of those elders are in it. But when you talked about the coordinator, the reason why what you're about to say is so important is because the coordinator is over the body of elders that are in
mm-hmm.
that congregation. So if anybody should be leading by example,
Right.
yeah, it's supposed to be the coordinator. Another elder should not be pointing out that you should not be left alone with this sister, especially considering that it's already been an issue already. So yeah, this is a pattern.
Right. So I got home to make a long story short, and I said the reason why when we're in the car, this brother from another congregation, the coordinator, and myself, I said the reason why you don't. I'm counseling, and I'm going too far. I'm counseling the elder. I said the reason why you don't. I was told the reason why you don't do this is because all the sister has to do is scream grace,
Right, right,
and
right.
you will lose your eldership. You know. So that night, I'm thinking I'm free. I'm thinking I'm in a new congregation, and I woke up and to let the friends in YouTube land know I was keeping notes. I was documenting everything that the brothers was doing to me because it was a bunch of stuff. And I was documenting, and a lot of it I had on my phone because it was what they were saying in text. That I was getting them. I was doing my espionage. And it was a lot of it was in text, and I was typing it. And then I left, and my friend called me, the same girl who got mad at me. She called me, and she told me that she was going to be meeting with that brother that whose wife got mad at me. She was going to be meeting with him that afternoon. I flipped. I said, "Oh my God, he's going," and I'm losing my mind. So I'm thinking he's gonna rape her. He's gonna do something to her because they're gonna be alone together. So I didn't even take a bath. I just grabbed my outfit for the ministry, and I called an Uber. And I was actually I don't know how to say it. I was stinking. I was stinking because I hadn't bathed. The man couldn't hardly breathe, and I told him, "Don't worry, the brothers are going to take care of me. Don't worry, they're going to take it." And I apologized to him, and then he took me to the Uber guy took me to the hall where my circuit overseer lived. And my circuit overseer in the previous, I talked about the circuit overseer who told me to wade into the new system to serve Jehovah. This is the
Yes.
same circuit overseer. So I already know now, looking back, I already know he had a problem with mentally ill people, but I didn't realize it at that point. So what I did was I ran downstairs and I hid. I was hiding in the bushes. I was hiding in
Wow.
the bushes because I didn't want to bring reproach on Jehovah's name. And when the brothers found me, I was hiding in the bushes, and I even had my head laid down in the grass. Okay, it was obvious. And when I talked to him, he was like, "Well, did you talk to so and so? I don't want to say the brother's name. The
Mm.
coordinator. Go back to your brothers." And then when I went up, they led me up the steps because we were down the stairs. They led me up the steps. 'Cause his, you know how sometimes they build the elders' houses into the Kingdom Hall houses.
Yeah, I've never seen it, but I've heard of it
Okay,
before.
yeah. Well, his house was at the bottom of the Kingdom Hall. It was like in the basement of the Kingdom Hall. So when I went to his house, he led me up the steps, and I had to be led up the steps to the Kingdom Hall. Then there were like elders everywhere. It was like 5 or 6 elders there, and then one had a bullhorn. And he led me to the edge of the Kingdom Hall. And he said, "You are banned from this Kingdom Hall. You are not to set foot on this property ever again,"
Wow.
with the bullhorn. And I was like, "What?" He said, "You are banned. You are not to come back here." And I said, "But what did I do? What did I do?" And she said, "Go home." And I said, "But I live on Shaker Boulevard. That's 4 hours away." I said, "How am I supposed to get to Shaker Boulevard from here? How
Mm.
did you get here?" I said, "I don't have any more money. I don't have nothing to do with that."
And I'm just curious. Another thing I want to point out is you have to have two witnesses, right? So that had to be kind of scary to even put yourself in a position where you're in the Kingdom Hall, where there's an area where the elders are living, that's their home. It's a different level of comfort. I know I've heard about that, like on the East Coast, that some of
Mhm.
those uh Kingdom Halls have that set up.
Mhm.
But I'm just picturing myself, in your shoes, and I know if anyone has any type of SA or CSA trauma, as a Jehovah's Witness,
Oh man.
it's hard because you know that you don't have another witness, right? You know that there has to be two witnesses. And so putting yourself in a position to be alone with this man is
I didn't
very
even get.
scary
I didn't.
because
I had witnesses. Because there were other elders there.
no, I'm
That's what
talking
I'm
about the initial. I'm talking about initially, like you didn't know what you were walking into.
Right, right,
You
right.
didn't know until you got up there that
I was
there
just going to
were,
talk to the
right.
circuit overseer.
You were just initially you were one on one with the circuit overseer,
Right.
right? Right. And then the other elder points out, are you going to take her home and no one else is there? Had that other brother not corrected the circuit overseer, then
No, there were
there may have
5 or
not
6.
been.
There were 5. I wasn't. It wasn't. This was a body effort. This is none of this elder body crap. There were
Mm.
5 or 6 elders there. It wasn't just me and the circuit overseer, a man and his brother. There were. He had a walkie-talkie, telling them they were like they knew I was coming, and they
Oh,
had a walkie-talkie. They had a bullhorn. It was 5 or 6. It was a group effort. This was not just one elder. This was a group
okay.
effort.
Okay.
And then I it took me. I didn't even figure it out. I think it was like maybe um all this time trying to figure out what did I do, because they didn't have that green room, back room with meeting with me. They
Yeah,
never
so yeah,
asked.
the judicial,
They
you're talking
never.
about that
They
judicial
just kicked
meeting.
me out.
Right.
They
So
just
what you're
kicked me
saying for
out.
people that don't understand is as a woman or as a Jehovah Witness, when you walk into this room and you do have these elders, you are expecting like a normal judicial meeting where you talk it out and then they go into their little meeting to decide whether or not they disfellowship you or not, or reprove you or whatever they do. And so you're saying that you went into this meeting and this was not an
I wasn't even. They
ordinarily.
didn't even let me in the door of the hall. We were all outside.
Mm,
This was all outside. They didn't even let me in the hall. And then they basically told me, the circuit overseer told me, go back to your home, go back to your elders. They were not letting me change congregations.
mm.
They said, go back. And then when I called Bethel, Bethel said, you must have been dangerous for them to do that.
Wow. And I know we're going to end this soon. We're running low on our minutes again. And this was a lot to unpack. What do you want to tell everyone? What is your takeaway from part 1, 2, and 3? What is your message here that you want to convey
So what
to?
I want people, parents, to see how I was as a small child. When you take your child to the hall, they know, they listen, they learn. This is where I was as a small child, turning on my mother, taking her to the elders when she was smoking a cigarette, making her feel like if she didn't come back to the witnesses, I would not talk to her. That's real.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only young person or child to go through that. And then what these elders did to me, kicking me out, and the basic reason why they kicked me out was because they figured out I was not a woman they could control.
Mm,
That's what it was. It took me months to realize it, and it hit me one day. They were going to crush me when I told them that Jehovah didn't live in their house. They were trying to break me, and I left. And then they people don't know that I left because they say that you were removed. If you disassociate yourself or you just get disfellowship, they say you were removed. I was not removed, Cleveland, Ohio. I left. Anybody that knows me, I want you to know that I left, and you should leave too. And
yeah.
that's what I want the people who are not witnesses to understand. The doctrine, the indoctrination, the mind control that they taught me as a small child turned me against my mom.
Yeah. Yeah, and the reason why I appreciate your story before we wrap up here is because we hear of so many stories of children that being shunned by their parents, and they feel like the organization has turned their parents against them. And here you are, you had the complete opposite shunning experience because your mother was the one that got disfellowshipped and you were the minor. And so it was just, the complete opposite in the situation. And I'm so sorry that you had to go through that.
And I'm doing
This
this
is
for
the
my mom.
yes, yes,
I'm
yes,
doing this for my mom, clearing her name.
yes, yes. Clearing her name and telling your side, because like you said, you removed is not the same as you've been removed. You
Yeah,
decided to leave.
I have yet to steal or have sex or murder somebody. I've still all these months still have not done anything that would be of a disfellowship and offense, but leave that congregation. They
Yeah,
said they said that if I wanted to be a witness, I had to go to that congregation. I don't want to go to that congregation, so I'm not a witness.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time. Yes, I really appreciate you. And we will plan a live, right? We're going to plan a live so
Yeah.
where maybe
Okay.
someone can come on and they can ask you any other questions that they want clarification on, right?
Okay, that's fine. I'll do that.
All right. Well, you have a great rest of your night, and I will see you in our Facebook group, okay?
All right then. Thank you.
Yes. Bye bye.
Bye.